I think my first money lesson that I can really remember and apply was my dad telling me to save 50% of my income in high school. Now, I'll say this. I didn't do it. But let me tell you why, and I've realized why as I've become a financial educator and things of that nature. I've realized why. So I didn't necessarily take that advice because I didn't know why. I didn't know the implications of not saving money. So I think, moving forward, even with my own teachings to the high school and college students that I speak to on a daily, is showing them the benefits and then showing them like the pros, and then also showing them the cons of not being financially literate, of not investing early and often. So I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned from me. My own experience of not listening to my dad on that standpoint was, okay, tell them not only what to do, but why to do it and how it impacts if you do it or if you don't do it.
What about just like in the house in general? Like, were you shown kind of anything about the family's finances? Did you have any awareness over how the family was doing? Was finance something that you guys talked about, not just for you, but like on for the family aspect?
So no, I mean, of course, you kind of pick it up like, okay, we have a little spare income here. We don't have too much here. But I was pretty much raised by my mom when I was in Texas. So I moved to Texas from 4 all the way to 18 until I went off to college in Tennessee. And we didn't really, well, I wasn't involved in any of the financial conversations with my mom, but just being a single child, I could tell that we were, middle class. We were able to, afford, I've never went hungry. I've always had a roof over my head, but I could tell we weren't super rich where we could just afford any and everything. You know what I mean? So just those little things that you kind of pick up, as you get older and things of that nature. But to answer your question, no, really wasn't involved in the financial conversations.
And so I know this answer just because we're friends, we've known each other for a while, but I'm curious from the go to college versus entrepreneurial route. Because now, I mean, you're someone who has their own personal brand, you have books, a podcast, like you're doing so much on the entrepreneur front, but what were those conversations like about college? I know you did end up going to college, but was there any point where you thought you were just going to go and become an entrepreneur and skip the whole college thing altogether?
No, because I was a student athlete, so I knew that football was going to be my route to get my college paid for, because I didn't want to put that financial burden on my mom or my dad to have to pay for my schooling. So when I was in high school, I sent my football film to over 200 coaches. So I've had, during that time of my senior year, I had about 6 or 7 schools actually reach out to me and, that were actually serious about me coming to their school. So that's, pretty much all I needed was to get, some of those schools interested to pay for my schooling and pay for my education. So for anybody listening out there, I think the best thing is to, the best option is to have options. So shoot your shot out, shoot your shot. And if you shoot for 100 and you have 10 left, hey, you're winning.
I actually think this would be an interesting topic to touch on a little bit, just because we haven't really had anybody come in and talk about what that looks like to get that scholarship is for an athlete. You know, is it, you talked about, you said it to a lot of people. Are there kind of things like that people need to watch out for, like maybe getting ahead of themselves? Like you said, having options, like can the team pull that scholarship from you? Or maybe this whole time you're thinking, I'm going to this school, not worried about everybody else. And then all of a sudden they change their mind last minute and you're stuck. Like any kind of things you could, maybe just put out to the audience. It would be little tips or gotchas for getting recruited and getting school paid for.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I think the first thing is just to believe in yourself. I was at the gym the other day. It's crazy you asked this question. I was at the gym the other day and a lady was telling me about her daughter who plays volleyball. She's really good. She's like number 2 in the district, but she hasn't sent her film out to the coaches. Like I was talking about how I sent my film out to all these different coaches. So I think the first thing, and this actually relates back to, finances, understanding and believing that you're worthy of being wealthy. just like you need to understand and believe that you're worthy of that scholarship, you're worthy of that money to attend that school and play your sport or play your instrument or whatever they're paying you to come to their school for. You're worthy of that. So I think that's one of the first initial and foundational things, is understanding that you can do it. And if you apply yourself, you will do it.
So I think this is a really important point, and something that not enough people really take to heart is kind of this, like, getting your thing out to the masses. And so I know in my personal situation, like, I applied to 150 scholarships. I was applying to dozens and dozens of internships and jobs. And in turn, I ended up getting good scholarships, good jobs. Sounds like you sent your film out to over 200 different coaches. Like, who taught you the send to the masses strategy? Because, again, a lot of people think it's just going to be a silver bullet. They're going to get lucky. Like, some coach is going to discover them. In your case, like, they're not going to send this stuff out to anywhere, and all of a sudden they're going to have the scholarship. But that's just not how it works. You got to just keep shooting your shot. You're going to miss a ton, but you're going to hit on a couple of them. So, like, was it one of your parents that kind of taught you this? Like, hey, Hassan, you need to send this out as much times as possible. I'm sure that same lesson has just paid itself over and over and over again throughout your life.
Bro, you see this big smile on my face because when you ask me that question, I'm thinking of the real answer, and I'm going to be completely authentic. I'm going to give you the real answer. So my friend Ashton in high school, he used to tell, like, so a lot of girls be telling, like, hey, Ashton, you know, hit me up. Ashton did this. Ashton did this. And me and him was talking. I'm like, bro, why you be, you know, hitting up all these girls and stuff like that, DMing them, messaging them? He was like, bro, because if I shoot my shot at a lot of them, and I get, you know, 2 or 3, I'm good. So I've literally applied that same aspect to everything, whether it was sending my film out to 100 coaches, 200 coaches, whether it's me sending an email to get a speaking engagement at a school, to get my book looked at by a school. I told somebody the other day, I was like, if you knew that I sent my film out to over 200 coaches, you would be crazy to think that I'm not going to go door to door, that I'm not going to send my email and contact and network about my business, about my brand, if I was doing that in high school just to get to college. So I'm literally applying that in every, and then, you know, as I'm getting older now, watching, you know, Grant Cardone's method of, you know, his mass marketing and things of that nature that he does, you know, so I'm seeing, hey, this is what entrepreneurs do. They, you know, it's more about the numbers and the conversion rates. You know what I mean? If we get sitting at 1,000 people and we got, you know, 10, you know, 100 people opening it, then that means if we want to increase conversions, we need to send it to 10,000 people and then have, you know, 1,000 people opening it. You know what I mean? So I think that mindset applies to so many different things. And if you have the determination and the motivation to do it, then I believe you should rock out and send it to everybody.
And what about, like, now that you get to college, you've got this scholarship, what do finances look like for a student athlete, at least, you know, your experience? Were you having to pick up another job, or was football able to take care of everything you needed?
So for me personally, I started to work a second job, I would say my sophomore year. I think my sophomore year, I started to work a remote job while I was playing football, while I was volunteering at the Boys and Girls Club, just to have extra money, you know, because if you want to live that college life is, you know, and the thing is, we have money. We're just spending it. We're just spending it at the bar. We're spending it at the parties. We're spending it at the football games. We're spending it at all these different events. So college students have money. We're just spending it. So I think for the college students or the young folks listening, picking up some type of side hustle, picking up some type of, you know, a digital product, you know, putting your effort into creating one digital product and selling it again and again and again can bring you that passive income, can bring you those multiple streams of income that you don't have to feel so stressed or have an anxiety over, you know, just having that one stream of income, because one is too close to none. You know what I mean? So I think definitely for these young folks, picking up multiple streams, having that side hustle so you can continue to live the lifestyle that you want to live.
I love that. Yeah, one is too close to none. I'm curious as a student athlete, because a lot of my friends who are student athletes, they were just
Yeah.
like gunning for the majors. Like if they're football, they're like, I want to go to the NFL. If they're basketball, I want to go to the NBA. But you were like really strategic about it. You were actually thinking about like building a brand, building a business alongside being a student athlete. I guess one,
Correct.
how did you manage your time and make time for all that? And then two, what was kind of your mindset for post-college? I know it sounds like going into college, you knew football was going to pay the bills, but it doesn't sound like you were like, I'm going to go NFL or bust. I'm not even going to care about my classes because like this is it. This is it for me. How did you kind of, juggle those two things?
For sure, for sure. So actually, it was, I wouldn't say NFL or bust, but it was definitely, trying to get to the next level, of course, for my first 3 years. And then I tore my meniscus my senior year. So that is what really led me into, okay, I need to find a new passion. I need to find a new energy for something to put my passion and my energy into. So that's where financial literacy came about. That's where because I've always been, business oriented and, about my money. So that was kind of like a natural next step for me. But I believe for the folks listening, you got to look at, what's out there. Look at the resource, look at the knowledge that we already know. We already know that it's not a secret that, what is it, 2 to 3% of people make it to the professional level?
Probably less.
So, yeah, man. So that's meaning 97% of us aren't going to make it to that level that we want to reach to. So we have to have some type of backup plan. We have to have something to fall back on just in case we don't reach that level. So I think that's where, even, you asked the question about going to college or just starting your, entrepreneurship journey. College was a great network builder for me. It was an amazing network builder for me. And that's actually where I'm going to be piloting my first, whenever my app is ready. That's where I'm going to be piloting my first application where we're going to allow students to make money, manage money, and use our app to actually eliminate debt. So without that initial connection, I wouldn't have that. So I think, for everybody listening, going to college, but also chasing that major dream, but having something to fall back on just in case is key.
And as you're building that your senior year, as you're thinking about your brand, you've decided on financial literacy. That's kind of an interesting thing for someone in college to decide on. Like most college kids are not thinking, what I want to do? I want to teach people about financial literacy. So what helped you, kind of skinny it down to just that? Like what helped you decide financial literacy is the problem I want to solve?
For sure. For sure. So it's two reasons, honestly. Growing up, especially in the minority communities, I've seen that my people, we know how to make money. That's not the problem. we're natural born hustlers. We're going to get to a bag. But the real problem was, as I've become more educated on finances and investing, we just didn't know how to make that money work for us and manage it and grow it and multiply it. That was the true issue. So then also, while I'm in school, I'm looking around at my peers and I'm seeing the communication majors. I'm seeing the science majors. I'm seeing the majors that are not biz, because I graduated with a business management major with a minor in accounting and marketing. So before I really got financially educated and got certified to teach personal finance, I felt like my financial intelligence was above average. I wouldn't say I was an expert, but I felt I was pretty good. So I thought about it like this. What about those majors that aren't required to take these business and accounting classes and finance classes? If their parents aren't teaching them, then they're graduating college not understanding how to be a successful adult, because everything we do revolves around money. So if they're not educated on how to make that money, manage that money, and grow that money effectively and efficiently, then they're going to take an L when they graduate college. And that's where I really realized, like, okay, I can do this. I feel knowledgeable about it. I feel like I have enough energy and enough passion to really make a change, to really relate to my younger audience and kind of, grow with them. You know what I mean? Because a lot of my younger folks, we want to see us pull up in a new Maserati. We want to see us pull up with 15 chains on. And then that's like the symbol of us making it or being rich. But I want people to understand that building generational wealth takes time. So I want to grow with my audience and then have them follow me for what I'm doing with my investing, have them follow me for what I'm doing in the real estate investing through REITs, through different things of like that, through Roth IRAs. So I think that's where I was like, really, okay, I can do this. I can do this. I'm passionate about it. And it still feels like I'm playing football, man. I got the same juice. I got the same energy. And I've been able to apply my true self into this financial literacy game.
Love that. So actually something interesting you mentioned was like in your community, people don't have any issue making money, but that piece of I need to buy income producing assets. I need to invest in stocks. I need to invest in real estate. Like I need to make this money work for me rather than the Maserati and 15 chains. When did that mindset shift happen for you? Did you like read a book or did you talk to a mentor or like when did you realize that you needed to invest instead of just like making as much money as possible?
So the first time that I invested was my junior year, and my dad gave me a stock magazine. It was during Christmas time. My dad gave me a stock magazine of the best stocks from that year. So I would research through that magazine. And I'm a guy, I like to find like the diamonds in the roughs, the diamond in the rough. So I'm finding those companies that I don't really know about, but that I'm reading about. And I'm like, okay, this could be something. This could be something. So I picked a lot of individual stocks. That was my first mistake. That was my first mistake because I'm waiting it out. I'm waiting it out, 6 months to a year. And I'm like, why am I not a millionaire yet? Like, why am I not rich yet? I bought these stocks. I thought I'm supposed to be rich. And my senior year, I had a class called an investment analysis class. So the main thing that my teacher taught in there was to invest into index funds and ETFs compared to investing into single stocks, because that ETF, which is basically a group of stocks, that lowers your risk. That diversifies you, whether you're investing in the S&P 500, whether you're investing into a total market index fund that encompasses all of the companies, in the U.S. or outside of the U.S., that really lowers your risk. So if one company does bad, you're good because you have, 499 other companies that are doing well. So that's when I really realized, like, okay, investing is where, we need to be putting our money. And it's not, not putting everything, but it's having a balance and starting somewhere that you can do consistently, doing on a regular basis, and just letting that money really compound for you instead of investing, oh, we got this new meme coin, we got this new Doge coin, let's put in some money here and then not invest for the next 5 months until another, meme coin or something of that nature comes up. So I think that's where we can really start making that differentiation. And then also from the knowledge that I've learned from my guests, bro, on my podcast, I've interviewed, this is about to be episode 82 this Friday. So I've interviewed over 80 guests in the last 2 years. I graduated during COVID. I graduated during 2020. So I started my podcast August 2020, and we've interviewed, like I said, over like 80 different guests. So when you're listening to my podcast, you hear me learning and asking questions that I want to know and the questions that my audience wants to know as well. So I'm learning, and I actually put 19 of my podcast guests into my first book, From College to COVID, 24 Lessons Learned During the Lockdown. So I put 5 lessons that I learned going from college to COVID, and then also 19 lessons that my podcast guests learned, and they're like biggest specialties that I've put into the book as well. So I'm learning and I'm earning, and I'm just going and rock it out, man. I'm having a good time, and I'm just super excited to really see where, how far we can take this thing, man.
Well, it's awesome, like hearing the passion that you have about this subject and trying to get that to other people, trying to get other people to follow in your footsteps. I'm always curious to get kind of feedback, personal experience of when you're trying to take this message to someone in college, like what have you found is the way to get that message across to them? Because most kids in college just don't really want to hear it. Like you said before, if they're not learning it from at home, then they're going to graduate without it. But even if somebody's there trying to teach them, sometimes it's just not a message that's accepted. So like, what's the way that you've been able to get across to people who are in that kind of 18 to 22 year range?
Bro, you have to relate it to them. You have to relate it to what's going to impact and affect them. If it's not impacting or affecting them, they do not care. We do not care. You know, as you get older and have been through, you know, having a low credit score, and then you going to buy a car and you can't buy the car, or your interest rate is super high, that makes you get right with credit, because you realize, oh man, I can't buy my car. Oh man, I can't get a house or apartment because my credit is bad. That makes you get right. But a lot of college students haven't experienced that before. So us preaching and stuffing credit down their throat, that really doesn't matter to them right now. It will in literally like 2 years. But at that certain point, with all the other things going on in college, that doesn't matter to them. But let me tell you a story. So I spoke at Elizabeth City State University this year. It's HBCU in North Carolina. When I saw everyone's eyes and ears perk up is when I started talking about spring break. I started talking about spring break, and I asked them about it, and they said, a couple of them said they weren't able to go on spring break because they didn't have enough money saved up for the hotel, for the travel, for all the new clothes that you got to get before you travel, and all those different things. So what they took away was I gave them game on how to create a sinking fund. So a sinking fund is basically just setting up a certain amount of money each month for a certain goal that's, off, maybe 4 or 5 months. So I told them, like, hey, why not, instead of, waiting until February or waiting until January to start planning for your trip in March, start setting money in November or, October, and setting a small amount of money so that when March comes around, you have money to buy that flight. You have money to buy that hotel. And the big thing about that is you're not taking it out of your check money that you need to pay for rent, that you need to pay for bills, your phone bill, and those different things of like that. So it's just a win-win just from you putting in a little bit of extra effort to do it in November or October. And then now you're able to travel and have fun without the worry or the stress. So to, fully answer your question, you have to make it relatable and you have to make it relevant to whoever your audience is, whatever they're going through. And that's why I said earlier, finances, money management relates to everyone. We use money for everything. If I say financial literacy is necessary and critical for everyone, because everyone receives a paycheck or some type of compensation for what they do. So we need to know how to make and manage and budget that money so we can accomplish our goals, accomplish our dreams, and do the things that we want to do.
So piggybacking off Justin a little bit and rewinding a bit in the story, I know you mentioned senior year is kind of when everything changed and you tore your meniscus and you couldn't play football anymore. So you started turning toward creating personal finance content. Like, what was the beginning of that business? Like, how did it look? How did you envision the company, the brand you were building? Like, was it, I want to build a blog, or was it a YouTube channel or a podcast? And just like, how did that work out? How did it work itself out over those first couple of months in business?
For sure.
The direction of the business. I mean, yeah.
For sure. So I was writing my senior thesis, my senior research paper over financial literacy. And I was telling everyone, like, hey, I'm about to write this research paper, get an A on it, and then I'm going to turn this into a book and kill 2 birds with 1 stone, like a book on, how to make and manage money for those college and, recent grad students. So I was telling everybody that. And then my cousin was actually like, hey, man, that's a great idea. I love that. But I think you should turn that into an app. And I was like, an app? So literally and this is September of 2019, literally from September of 2019 to December 2020 to December 2019, I did nothing but research. And that's why I always tell, like, especially everybody that's in this generation now and that's, living during this time, it's a blessing the amount of resources and the technology that we have available to us. Why did I look up I looked up how to create an app. I looked up how to create an app like Acorns or financial app. And why was there a website called How to Create an App Like Acorns? Like, bro, we couldn't have done that 20 years ago. we couldn't have done that. So being able to have those resources, have that technology to us, they literally gave me the blueprints for all the security, all the, the basic fundamentals and foundation for the app that I'm building and that I'm going to be releasing next year. So it started from that financial literacy research paper, then transformed into a book, and then it's transformed into this podcast, FYI FLI, the podcast, that we've actually won an award at the Southern Entertainment Awards this year for Podcast of the Year. So things have just been, jumping off, and my mom likes to call it going from glory to glory. And that's literally all I've been doing. I've been meeting great people, impressing and, showing up for them. Hey, I think you should meet with this person, or I think you should get connected with them. Go meet with them, show them, some of the resources that I have, the great things that I have going and the impact that I'm making. Hey, I think you should meet them. Now I'm talking to this person. It's just keep on going, and it's compounding just like your money compounds. So anything that you do, anything great that you want to do will take time. It'll take consistency. It'll take hard work and a network to do. So I think those are some of the critical things that have gone into the early success that FYI FLI and I have had so far.
Well, that research paper that was supposed to be a book now turning into an app, but you did still come out with a book, right? You still came out with that book, From College to COVID. What is it that, somebody reads that title, maybe they don't know exactly what they're getting into. If you were to explain what somebody would get out of this book and what all you're trying to cover in that book, what would that be?
Yeah. So the first book, From College to COVID, 24 lessons learned during the lockdown to increase your drive, destiny, and dollars. And that's exactly what it is, man. Like I said, I've put 5 of the biggest lessons that I learned going from college to COVID, to starting the development of my app, to starting the podcast, to doing speaking engagements and things of that nature. And then also included 19 lessons from the expert podcast guests that we interview, the athletes, the entrepreneurs, the entertainers. So we have so much different games, so many different thought processes and different things of that nature implemented into this book. So whether you want game on credit, whether you want game on real estate, entrepreneurial mindset, money mindset, how to budget, all those things. And what I did, I'm a real actionable person. I don't just want to give information and be like, oh, okay, you do whatever I'm giving actionable tips. I'm giving takeaway items. I'm giving different things. And what I like what I did on the book, I bolded the important text or the important things that I really wanted you to take away from, so you can, catch those little nuggets and then implement them into your life. Because really, I feel like education without application is worthless. If you're not applying the information that you just learned, what did you learn it for? So those are some of the biggest things that I've, implemented into the book. And I just really want people to check this first book out. And this second book that I'm coming out with early Q1 of next year of 2023 is From College to COVID to Recession, a guide to making and managing your money during the economic downfall. So I went a bit different on this book because when you think about it, I was 10 during the last recession in 2008. You know what I'm saying? So how am I going to try to give you some expert advice when I was 10 during the last recession that we went through? So what I did there was I've interviewed a financial wellness professor at the University of Georgia. I've interviewed my previous economics teacher at Maryville College. I've interviewed an economist at S&P Global through some connections and networking. So I've interviewed 5 experts on recession and the economy to put their expert analysis into the book. So I have that recession part down to give you everything you need to know about recessions, and not just what you need to know, but actually how it impacts you and how it impacts your pockets. Because I know that's really all that matters. That's all we want to know. So I put that into the book as well. And then after that, that goes into how to make and manage your money during an economic downfall. And I feel I'm pretty well versed on that part. So really, really going to be a great read for those high school, college, and recent grad students. And just super excited to get this book into these high schools and colleges and really see the impact, man.
Yeah, man, you are making an absolutely huge impact. I see you all over social media. People are engaging with your stuff. You're teaching financial literacy to the masses. I'm curious because I'm a business guy and I like talking about entrepreneurship and different ways to make money. What did this look like from a monetary standpoint? Let's, I guess, rewind to like right out of college. Like, did you want to just spend all of your time on FYI FLI? And actually, real quick, can you just define that for people, the acronym, so people aren't confused?
Facts. So FYI FLI stands for your information, financial literacy, and investing. So it's a little wordplay on that word fly for that younger audience, and and I really think that it was funny how I came up with the name. I was having a meeting. I had my first meeting with the app developers in India. It was early 2020, had our first meeting at like 8 p.m. I woke up at 5 a.m. Something hit me and I was like, FYI, I was just saying stuff, man. And then I was like, FYI FLI. And I literally called my mom at like 5 a.m. Hassan, you all right? Hassan, you all right? You okay? I said, yes, Bob. Yes. I got it though. I got it. FYI FLI, for your information, financial literacy and investing. Literally got the name down pat right before the initial meeting with the app development team, man. So it was crazy. I had multiple names before. I had Simplify. That was taken. I took that to the trademark office. They said, no, sir. Try again. I had, what was the other one? It was another one. I can't remember. I just lost it. But I've had multiple names before that. But FYI FLI ended up being the winner. And, that's where we're at today, man.
That's awesome. So just going back to my question, I'm curious from a business standpoint, what that looked like straight out of college. Like, were you monetizing this thing at that point? Were you going to get a traditional job, or were you just going to put all of your chips in this entrepreneurial basket?
Yeah, good question, man. Good question. And literally just up to last month in October, I've been working a 9-to-5 job. As long as on side of building FYI FLI. So for any entrepreneurs, for anybody listening, keep your job. Keep your job until you are really making funds, till you really have, at least a 6-month cushion built up that you'll be okay when you quit your job. And if your business is not making money, because I wasn't making money. I just started having a consistent income from a sponsorship deal that I was blessed to land last month. And I've been doing this since 2020, every day, every single day. So anybody listening, please keep your job. And if you really love what you're doing, you should love, especially your side hustle or your passion, something that you're building on the side, you should love it. So keep that job, use that job as the bank to fuel what you're doing for your 6 to 12. Work that 9 to 5. But if you really want financial freedom, if you really want time freedom, if you want to build something that you love to do, you're going to have to do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do in the future. So that was advice that my mom always gave me, and it stuck with me. So I understood that I would have to grind, work this. Man, I've been through so many jobs since 2020, bro. So many jobs, and it was literally due to me not being able to focus on that job, because I'm focused on content creating, I'm focused on building networking connections, and just building FYI FLI. And I always tell people, especially for us solo entrepreneurs, if we don't do it, it's not gonna get done. Like, we don't have the virtual assistants just yet. We don't have, employees just yet. So if I'm not the one getting active behind everything, then it's not going to get done. So that's the mindset that I've taken into this. And, just like I said, just to answer your question, I believe that everybody should keep their 9 to 5, because that's what's keeping on the lights. That's what's keeping food on your family's table. Have that 9 to 5. But if you're truly passionate, if you truly care about that side hustle or your own business, you'll work that 6 to 12. You'll do it.
And maybe that is the answer. Like we just mentioned that you had that 9 to 5 the entire time, but like when you're first getting started, you're talking about meeting with app developers. I don't know how much that costs off the top of my head, but I imagine there's some costs involved. Like what were you doing to get started, like to seed this whole idea?
Yeah. So like I said, man, I worked that 9 to 5. Of course my mom helped me out with some, cause I was going to initially go to grad school. But COVID came and I didn't want to do grad school. Once FYI FLI came, I was like, I'm cool on that. So my mom was able to help, allocate some funds to help me get, started in the beginning. So, having that 9 to 5, and if you're blessed to have a parent that will help you, then, definitely, take that route, accept that help, and continue to build with what you have. Take every single, and I think that's one of the biggest things one of the biggest traits that I have. I will maximize every single opportunity. Everyone, free, whether it's free, paid, if they just paying for transportation, hey, I'm there. I am there. You know what I'm saying? So for everybody listening, maximize every resource, every opportunity that you come across, and keep going from glory to glory. Just keep bouncing, keep making plays. And you'll look up in, 2 years and you've won, podcast of the year. You'll look up and, you have, 30,000, downloads. You'll look up and things are just, jumping off. Your network, your connections and things that you've built is just compounded over the years. And you're just keeping your head down, grinding. And something also I want everybody to take away is try to enjoy the process. Try to really enjoy the process, because you don't want to look up, say your big goal is to be, a $10 million company. What if it takes you 10 years to get there? Are you not going to be happy because you're not a $10 million company? Are you not going to be happy for 9 years until you get to that 10th year and become that $10 million company? So that's what I had to think about, because me personally, I feel like I should be much bigger than where I'm at right now. But I'm enjoying the process, because I'm not going to be down on myself. I'm not going to beat myself up for, these next years until I, become big and have the impact that I want to. I'm going to enjoy the process, enjoy where I'm at. One quote that I like to live by is, success is what you make it. Take it how it comes. Take that success that you have, because last year, you weren't doing the things that you're doing this year. So that's a big improvement. That's a big progression. So take those things, enjoy the process, and continue to build. Because hey, it's time. It's time to my motto for FYI FLI is income. I'm sorry. My motto for FYI FLI is impact, income, and to have fun. That's what I want to do in my business. I want to make impact. Definitely want to make income. And I want to have a good time doing it, man.
Love that. Yeah, all three are key ingredients to success.
Thanks.
One thing I like, and actually Justin and I recently talked about this on a previous podcast, was, and it sounds like you've already internalized this, but like lead versus lag metrics. Like you're focusing on the inputs. You can't control whether or not you're going to have a $10 million company or whether or not you're going to get podcast of the year. You can control, like, I'm going to put out a podcast every single week. I'm going to get X, Y, and Z done in my business. How, I guess, is that something you've always just been born with? Is it something you've learned through reading, through experience, or just like, how have you been someone who focuses so much on the inputs and then realize that, like, okay, the outputs are just going to be a result of how many inputs I put in, and some of them are going to work out, some of them aren't.
Bro, it's perspective, bro. It's perspective. Just from taking this education that, I've learned over these last 2 years, really change. And one thing I like to say is you have to balance your entertainment to education intake. And I've started to listen to more podcasts, of course, more YouTube videos, more educational, resources. So that has really helped me in changing the perspective of, okay, if we're putting out something every week, we're staying consistent. If we have one person listening, that's good, because that one person took time out of their day to listen to our podcast when there's 3.6 million different podcasts in this world. So if I'm impacting one person from behind the mic, I'm winning. I'm winning. And that's perspective. Because I used to work at JCPenney. I used to work at Kroger. I used to push carts. You know what I'm saying? So for me to be able to make an impact from behind this mic, from teaching and talking about the education that I've learned from my great guests, from that I've written about, that I've, soaked up, and I actually see an impact, is huge for me. So I think that perspective for everybody listening, really changing your perspective on, like I said, success, changing your perspective on, like you said, the input, not focusing on so much, but the output, but focusing on what you can control. My football coach always used to say, control the controllables. Control what you can control, do your best, and let God do the rest. Like that's literally all you can do. So once you change that perspective, I think that can take away a lot of the stress and anxiety away from, being an entrepreneur and, chasing this dream, because it's not easy. It's not easy being an entrepreneur. So I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned over these 2 years. I was gonna say this long time, but it's been 2 years.
Yeah, but I do love that. I love the perspective piece. I love that because it gets into, we're so bad as humans at viewing our progress and kind of beating ourselves up. And it's not like worrying is going to help us. It's probably most likely actually going to slow us down. It's going to make us second guess things. We're not going to get out there, make those errors, whether it be, entrepreneurial efforts or even investing. Like we're in this recession now. A lot of people are probably seeing their accounts going backwards. That makes them second guess everything they're doing. But I love like what you just said there with the perspective, and that you'll eventually see that success if you just kind of zoom out and you stick with what you got going on. You control what you can control. And I know like you definitely are going to have a lot more success coming our way. And there's going to be a lot of listeners who are going to be curious, like, hey, where do I follow along with Hassan? How do I see when this new book is coming out? So for all these things that you've got coming, what's the best way for our audience to kind of keep in touch with you and follow along with something like that?
For sure. So you can definitely connect with us on our website, FYI FLI. So it's FYIFLI.com. Definitely, leave your email with us and let's connect. You can also reach out to us on social media at, sorry, fellas.
Okay.
But you could definitely reach out to us on social media at FYI FLI. You can follow my personal page, CEO Sonny, CEO SANNI. I'm also on LinkedIn. Got to keep it professional now. That's that Hassan Thomas, HASSAN, last name Thomas. And we on TikTok. Got to keep it fly. Got to keep it FYI fly. So that's FYI _ FLI on TikTok. So definitely, keep in touch with us. Stay up to date on some of the things we got going for this upcoming holiday season. I've partnered with a company out here in Florida called FPP, Florida Prosperity Partnership, and we're putting on a holiday special to kind of give some game on, how to spend and save your money for this holiday season and kind of what to look forward for 2023 when it comes to investing, saving, and helping you make the right decisions. So we have that coming up, and we've also included some independent artists. We got some actors and things. So it's not just going to be financial experts stuffing information down your throat. You ain't got to worry about that. We're going to have skits and, different artists singing and things. So it's going to be a real edutaining event.
Love that, man. Well, just want to thank you again for coming on. It was an absolute blast. I know this has been way too long coming. We met back a couple years ago at FinCon, and we've been in touch ever since. So we finally got to hit the record button and hop behind the mics with one another. But seriously, man, just want to thank you again for all the work you're doing, all the lives you're affecting, and just everything you do. So thanks, man.
Thank you. And when y'all boys come down to Miami, man, next time y'all come, I'm sure I'm going to have my studio up and we're going to have to rock out in person, man. That's the next goal for season 4 of the podcast. I want to get an in-person studio and start doing some in-person things.